In 1902, the directors of the Palais du Louvre in Paris received an instruction from the legal offices of Signor Isacco Odiordi, number 12, Via dei Molini in Rome, to give consideration to an unusual bequest that was to be issued upon the deaths of the last surviving members of two aristocratic houses of that city, both of whom had chosen to remain anonymous. As executor of both estates, Signor Odiordi had been commissioned to contact the Louvre Directorate and to make a bequest of a painting entitled Christ and a Woman Taken in Adultery, painted by Nicolas Poussin in 1653. What made the bequest unusual was that each estate claimed to possess the original painting. Signor Odiordi made it clear that it was the last will and testament of both estates that the Louvre should be charged with determining the authenticity of the two paintings, that the successful claimant's painting should enter the collection at the Louvre galleries, and that the fraudulent work should be burnt. Furthermore, Signor Odiordi signified to the Directorate that each benefactor had taken great pains to document the provenance of their own version, and that supporting materials would be supplied with each canvas to facilitate the decision of the Directorate. In that the benefactors made it known that they should remain nameless, we shall refer to them here as Benefactor A and Benefactor B for the purposes of expediency. Benefactor A submitted several portfolios, each containing correspondences, drawings, maps, and legal papers for consideration. Among them, several articles and receipts disclosed documentary proof that the painting had been commissioned by a family member, Cardinal Gallo di Salvo, who had been accessory to the papal seat of power at the time of Poussin's initial residency in Rome, and whose version of the painting had resided in the family's private collection at the Palazzo Vitale since the commission had been completed. To support this provenance, the papers of Benefactor A provided a highly detailed geometrical and an allegorical analysis of the painting, which illustrated the very personal relation between Cardinal Gallo di Salvo and the subject of the work. It was signified that Palazzo Vitale can be seen in the upper right portion of the canvas, and leading from the entranceway are two geometrical lines that strike through the picture to give the cardinal's time of birth in the form of a sundial measure. But further to this, personal correspondences in the folio of Benefactor A made it known that, at the very centre of the painting, and within those converging lines, could be seen a woman with child receding into the shadows, a woman who had been the cardinal's illicit mistress and who was a household servant. The subject matter of Christ and a Woman Taken in Adultery furthermore supported this claim for authenticity, serving as an allegory for the commissioner's own amorous predicament and his desire for repentance. As the inscription upon the floor reads, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." The papers of Benefactor B were likewise submitted in the form of letters, rather long manuscripts, and a number of receipts. From these, the Directorate ascertained that the painting had come to reside at the family seat of that person in 1723, and that it had been bought for the price of 200 florins from a rival household who had chanced upon financial hardship during the previous year. However, no further evidential claim to originality was forthcoming in the papers of Benefactor B that were in a position to contest the origin of the painting submitted by Benefactor A. Instead, the papers went on to explain how the family had welcomed the Danish writer Søren Kierkegaard, travelling under the pseudonym Flaviani di Marmara, as a guest at the palace in 1841, prior to his study in Berlin under Friedrich Schelling. It was during his short visit that the existence of a second version of the painting came to light. Whilst attending a social function at the Palazzo Vitale, the seat of benefactor A, Kierkegaard noticed the painting and entered into debate with the owner as to its authenticity. After he had left, the two houses had entered into terminally unfavourable relations, and the dispute as to the authenticity of the paintings had begun in earnest. It was shortly after his departure that Kierkegaard began his first major philosophical work, Either Or, in which, again under a pseudonym, he feigned to have discovered two sets of documents by different authors who were named simply A and B, each of which presented an ethical dispute for authenticity in the existential context. In that the significant technical analyses of the paintings performed by various departments and experts at the Louvre had yielded little fruit as to the authenticity of the two paintings, for they were, to all intents and purposes, identical, the decision of the Directorate had resided entirely upon an investigation of the documents provided by the two benefactors. Given that the submission made by benefactor A was supported not only by a substantive provenance, but also by incontrovertible documentary evidence as to its originality, and given that the work submitted by benefactor B gave only anecdotal verification to support the claim, the Directorate concluded with the most prudent decision allowed within its remit.